Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in again. Today it is Monday, July 1st. It is noon, and you are currently watching the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group. I am your host, Jason Leeser. And if this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chats, and please tag a friend who loves tattoos. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo at www.reinventingthetattoo.com, and you can try it out for free. We have three different options for you to try it out. The first option is to take a sample webinar from the Reinventing the Tattoo canon, where you get to go through and take a quick peek at what it's like to actually have a subscription to Reinventing the Tattoo. The second option is to get some free advice from Guy Aitchison about your unique goals. And the third option for fellow tattoo history lovers such as myself is to take a comprehensive tattoo history course from Jay Brown. I myself, being a tattoo history nerd, absolutely loved that course. I cannot recommend that enough. Highly recommend it. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find a full event schedule with full weekly and special event live stream details. For example, if you wanted to jump into today's session, you could go to www.reinventingthetattoo.com, click on the events area, and you'll see a whole calendar filled with different events coming up that you can jump into live. At reinventingthetattoo.com, you can also find access to our Reinventing 24/7 channel, which is actually very close to our Roku channel, which I'll be mentioning in just a minute. We have 13 different episodes playing at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you also have access to a whole host of professional development on demand pay per view seminars, all at reinventingthetattoo.com. You can also find us in both of the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, as well as our Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel, our Reinventing the Tattoo Roku channel, which has 12 to 15 different episodes going on at any given time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is available on all Roku enabled devices. For example, maybe it's a Roku TV, maybe it's just a Roku stick that you have. All of that is available on the Reinventing the Tattoo channel on Roku. You can also find us in all of the major podcast directories such as Apple and Spotify. Or you can do what most people do and just pull up your web browser and do a quick search for Reinventing the Tattoo. You'll find it all, except for the book, which is still currently out of print, that is not available for purchase right now. However, all of the contents in the book are available through the subscription to reinventingthetattoo.com. Once again, if this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and in the chat. And please tag a friend who loves tattoos. We have a number of different shows every week that we always encourage people to tune into. Starting off on Mondays at 9 a.m., we have Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, a very good friend of mine, extremely talented artist. And in that show, we get to go through and discuss some basic drawing techniques and strategies. Helps us get back to our roots of being a fine artist in the tattoo field. And it's absolutely jam packed with great information pertaining to everything like color theory, drawing strategies and techniques, composition. We cover some fine art books. It's absolutely fantastic. I cannot recommend that enough. And that is 9 a.m. Monday mornings, Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom. Following that, you have this show, which is the Skill Building Monday Drawing Group with me, Jason Leeser, where we discuss a wide range of topics, everything from Procreate tips and tricks to analog painting to any number of other things. We also have a lot of other guest artists on this show, and that's also that we can help build up our skill sets. It's also a great place to come to if you have any questions or anything you might be curious about regarding tattooing or the tattoo industry. Capping off Mondays at 9 p.m., we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Sandy McAndrew from the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. And that is only available if you have a subscription to the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon, Reinventing the Tattoo Evolution, or the Monday evening drawing group subscription. I can tell you from personal firsthand experience that if you get a subscription and you only do the Monday evening drawing groups, your work will dramatically improve. I did them for about 2.5 years. And if you look at the work I was doing before I started and the work that I'm doing now, you will notice a substantial difference in the caliber and type and quality of work that I'm putting out now compared to what I did before I did the Monday evening drawing groups. I was a little hesitant at first to try it out, but once you get used to it, it's absolutely going to improve wherever you are. Following that, on Tuesdays, we have the Tattoo Weekly Show with Gabe Ripley, Lauren Gregory, and Fawn Baker, where we get to go through and discuss different different events coming up in the tattoo community, different things that might impact the industry as a whole. Maybe it's new legislation being passed, new restrictions, new requirements, new information that's come to light. All of that and a whole lot more. That's available Tuesdays, 11 a.m., the Tattoo Weekly Show. Following that, on Wednesdays at noon, we have the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley, where we get to do a deeper dive into the business aspect behind tattooing. Maybe it's advertising strategies or promotional techniques. Maybe it's travel visas or streamlining your client booking process. All of that and more. Once again, that's all business aspect in the tattoo industry. And that show is Wednesdays at noon, and that is the Tattoo Now show with Gabe Ripley. And capping off the week on Thursdays at 6 p.m., we have the Tattoo Collecting 101 podcast with Fawn Baker, where we get to go through and share some of our stories about our tattoo collections and some of the things we might have learned along the way. In addition to all of those shows, we actually have two very special live events coming up. The first event is in August, and that is in Phoenix, Arizona at the Hell City Tattoo Convention. And you would not believe the lineup of people that will be at Hell City this year. And some of the artists that will be there include Paul Booth, Mike Cole, Ty McEwen, Ron Earhart, Amber Joy, D Rock. Met him at Hell City in Columbus, Ohio. Absolutely fantastic guy and a killer tattooer. Oak Adams and Anna Mia. Brian Geckel will also be there, along with Jimmy DeLessio, Pepe Carrere, Chris Mack, and of course, myself. We will be broadcasting live, and that is August 22nd through 26th in Phoenix, Arizona. Following that, in October, October 24th through 27th, in Hancock, Massachusetts, we will be live at the Paradise Tattoo Gathering. And you would not believe the lineup of presenters that we have coming to Paradise this year. Uh, we have an all-star lineup, to say the least. Jake Meeks will be there from the Fireside Tattoo Network. Kyle Olson, Renee Little, Mickey Schlick will be there. Sandy McAndrew will be in attendance, flying out from Canada. Thea Duskin will be there. Corey Ferguson, Steve Butcher will be doing a seminar. Christina Christie, Gunner will be teaching. Anthony Tex will be teaching. Russ Abbott will be teaching. All of that and a whole lot more. They will all be presenting. They will all be teaching at Paradise Tattoo Gathering, October 24th through 27th, and that is in Hancock, Massachusetts. It is definitely going to be an event you do not want to miss. Would also like to go through and thank some of our sponsors, some of the people that make these shows happen. Starting off with worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. They are constantly keeping everything updated, as we know, living in this post-pandemic era. there are still tattoo events and conventions that are getting rescheduled like crazy. So if you want the latest, most up to date, most relevant information on a tattoo event coming to a city or town near you, take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Lord knows it's how I book all of my vacations. Would also like to thank tattoonow.com, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattooers of all levels. They are 100% competitive with any type of CRM, mailing list, or scheduling software out there. So if you really want to get the digital tools that will help you to get more clients through the door, that really want to get the kind of work that you really want to do, take a look at tattoonow.com. They've been an industry leader in streamlining the client booking process and getting you all set up with websites and anything else you can imagine for over 20 years. Would also like to go through and say a very special thank you to Guy Aitchison at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. You can go to guyaitchison.com where you can pick up a copy of his biomech encyclopedias, some of his custom DVDs. I believe he still has a few coil machines for sale. These are custom one off coil machines, and countless fine art prints and the occasional oil painting, all for sale at guyaitchison.com. Would also like to say a very special and quick thank you and shout out to the Apprenticeship Diaries. It is my personal and favorite source for people that are looking to get into the tattoo community, that are looking to become a tattoo apprentice, or if they are looking for more information on what constitutes a good tattoo apprenticeship. Take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. It's a podcast, it's free, and it will help you open your eyes to a lot of different things in this tattoo industry. As always, we ask that if you like today's show, please post a positive review on the channel. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button down at the bottom of the page. That way you can stay up to date and catch all of the new episodes coming out. And if you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, become a sponsor of our community, or if you are looking for a fine art or a tattoo critique, you can always email management at reinventingthetattoo.com, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Would also like to say, while I have the chance and I am live, I would like to say a very special happy birthday out there to a very good friend of mine, Bruno. Bruno, thank you for all of your knowledge that you have given me. Bruno Salvatierra. He is down at Prismas Art Studio right outside Miami, Florida, if I remember correctly. Um, Bruno, thank you for all that you have done, and thank you for all of the knowledge you have passed on to me. I could not be more thankful to call you a friend. So thank you very, very much. If you live in Florida, make sure to get tattooed at Prismas Art Studio. You cannot go wrong. All of the work coming out of that place is gorgeous. So take a look at that. And happy birthday, Bruno. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Not that I'm trying to embarrass you or anything, but you know, gotta shout it out. Dwellers Art, hey, thanks for watching today. Just saw you made a comment. We've got a couple of people watching on Facebook, a couple of people watching on the YouTube, and that's awesome. If at any point in time today anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, anything they would like to discuss, please by all means drop that in the comment area and I'll be sure to bring it up. I'm actually really, really looking forward to Paradise Gathering this year. That show is going to be absolutely epic. I can't stress that enough. It is going to be one for the books. It's literally going to be most of the people that I really look up to in this tattoo industry, and they're all going to be in one place, and we're all going to be hanging out, doing art, teaching, getting tattooed. If there's someone in the Paradise Tattoo Gathering lineup that you want to get tattooed by, get in touch with them now and get that booked because spots do sell out very quickly. Um, there will be live tattooing going on, so please make sure that you go through and book those appointments now. If you live in the New England area and you want to get tattooed, by one of the people that will be at Paradise Gathering, do it now, book it now. It's going to be awesome. Um, it's an event that I always look forward to every year because you take away so much knowledge just from going there and being around people that are really in that upper echelon level of this industry, where you can go through and ask them questions and hang out with them and get to understand who they are. How do they do what they do? You can sit down with Gunnar and ask him questions about his 27 years of experience in this field. You can sit down with Nick Baxter and help try to understand his process about how he creates his tattoos. Everyone that's going to be there is very open. We all share information and we're all there to talk about, tattoos and getting better and drawing and everything like that. Um, it's phenomenal to go through and just see the progress that certain people make once they attend the Paradise Gathering and where they go from there. It's absolutely fantastic. I cannot recommend it enough. And not just because I'm going to be changed, but you know, Seth's going to be there. I really look up to that guy, and I'm really excited to see him there with him. Super awesome dude. There are a few people, and I can't really. I really shouldn't bring up any other names just because they haven't officially announced on the Instagram or any other social media feeds that they will confirm be there. But there may be some other pretty awesome names there. Legends in this industry, people that have made a huge impact. So you never know who's actually going to be there. But those people that I mentioned before have confirmed they will be there. I don't care if I have to pick them up at the airport myself. There. Um, it's going to be an absolutely incredible time at Paradise Gathering this year. So moving right along, I know last week started to draw dragons. Dragon heads for an upcoming art project. So I'm actually going to be going through and working on that again today. And this is here. Yay. Awesome. Now, this is something, and I know a lot of people have probably watched me draw dragons and dragon heads and dragon claws and all that stuff before. But it's something that if you do it every single day, it just gets that much easier, just like anything else. You want to learn how to draw, heads and hands and snakes or whatever. Carve out a little bit of time every single day and go through and sketch and draw and sketch and draw and just take an hour to work on. Maybe it's one little thing like working on scales. Maybe it's working on, horns or hands or legs or body composition or anything like that. The more you draw, the better you will be at whatever it is you're trying to draw. So I try to take at least a couple minutes every day and just sit down and work on dragons because it's something that I really want to understand that subject matter a lot better. I also try to dedicate a little bit of time every day to drawing human hands and heads, and you can see, a progression. And you're not going to see it over time. It's like anything else. It's constant improvement. What are you doing today to be a little bit better than you were yesterday? Always trying to go through, always trying to improve, always trying to get better, always trying to seek new knowledge out from other people that might know more than I do. And there is nothing wrong with that. I have yet to meet any artist at any level in this field that knows absolutely everything. And those people that are out there that you may think know everything, those are the people that are constantly learning and constantly getting new knowledge from other people. Um, Anyone that might sit down and try to convince you otherwise is not really well. I refuse to say anything negative about anyone, so we'll just leave it at that. Um, but I already have kind of like a rough wireframe mapped out. I'm trying to come up with some different perspectives. In fact, I might actually go through and restart my wireframe because I think I'm going to give it a bit more of a underside kind of view. But I want to make sure that I go through and I've started incorporating like a little triangle right in between the eyes, for no other reason than it helps me keep the nose parallel. So I'm actually going to go through and this darker line up top, that's going to be my brow line, right? So I'm going to keep the bottom of this triangle parallel with that. So I'm going to go through. So now that I have that line, I'm going to want to mark, roughly, I'm not going to draw a straight line out. I could, but I am going to mark a parallel line where I want the base, the bottom of the nose to be. And then I'm going to go through and just below that, I'm going to do another parallel line. That's where the bottom of the mustache will be. If I really wanted to go overboard and I wanted to have more of an open mouth, I would mark where the top of the bottom lip would be. And then I would do another one for the bottom of the chin area. But starting out with, just where everything is. In fact, I may actually increase the angle slightly. This way it's got a bit more of like an upturned nose. Yeah, let's adjust this angle just a hair. And then from there, I'm going to go through and just based off of triangles, I'm going to draw like a little triangle here. Maybe I'll do another triangle over here for the nostril. And the reason why this may look a little big right now is because what I'm essentially doing is I'm creating a series of foreshortened proportions. Foreshortening is when anything comes at you, right? It's going to look way bigger. Just as an example, right? So I'm pointing at the camera right now. Now you can see the tip of my finger looks just about the size of my eye, right? But that's because it's coming way further towards you than my eye is. It's a distance kind of effect. But if I move it back, you can see it's actually far smaller, right? That is a perfect example of foreshortening. So what I'm going to do is try to focus on that. It actually doesn't, I'm actually not too happy with my proportions and the angles of everything right now. Sometimes it also helps take a step back and look at things from a different perspective. Um, I noticed that with where my eyes are located, my little circle marks for my eyes, right? And I've got my brow line, but I've noticed that I really want this to be looking up a little bit higher. So I'm going to redo my triangle, give this a bit of an upper angle. It's kind of why I always like to start out with a circle. Because I kind of want this to come up a bit further, but still keeping everything parallel. Right, so bottom of the nose, bottom of the mustache. I might just give this one a closed mouth. I've been drawing a lot of closed mouth dragons lately. Not quite sure why, but they do have a bit more of like a peaceful kind of look. Even though they're supposed to be like vicious, mean dragons, roar. But, sometimes even the most vicious animals in the world have times of peace and serenity. Um, so I've been trying to work on that a bit more. So we'll just do triangle, triangle, right? And then we'll just cut that in a little bit. That's exactly what I do here. Cut that in. This is going to come across and down. Great. And we'll see how this goes. I always like to give things a little bit of I always like to try to map it out like it was a three-dimensional object. For example, the front of the nose, I'm going to kind of map out where, if this was in 3 dimensions, where would those planes be? If it was made out of all flat surfaces, where would that be? Same thing, I could go through and I could do that here. I could say, okay, I'm going to see much more of the side of this nostril. And then that's going to come out there. And then we're only going to see one plane of it. So it just helps you keep things in proportion and helps keep things um, a bit more consistent as far as your angles, as far as, how would this look in reality? I also like to use it as a double check to go through and make sure that everything is in line and that I do have the correct angles on something. It's just, kind of like a redundancy that I like to utilize. Now I always give like a little curve here for the bottom of the mustache, right? And then I'll bring this up. And I am drawing pretty light right now. And this isn't even going to be the final layer that I draw on. In fact, let's go through and we'll create a second layer. Now we're going to move to something a little bit darker to kind of help refine these shapes. Now, once again, just trying to keep everything good, right? Parallel line. Sometimes I'll go through and I'll even add in like a little bit of a scribble just to make sure that I've got. There we go. Yeah, that's it. Great. Then we've got our mustache. We're going to have some of these little ridges coming over on the nose, on the snout. This part's going to be coming down. Now, the one thing I almost always draw, but I did not draw in on the last layer, was my little brow ridge. I always like to mark out where the eyebrows are and where the brow ridge would sit, just because it, once again, helps me keep things in proportion, helps me keep things angled correctly, and allows me to kind of go through and remember that, oh, yeah, eyebrows do exist. Um, I back when I first started drawing dragons, I used to draw them, and then eyebrows were always like an afterthought. I was like, oh, well, crap. I know something's missing, but I couldn't remember what it was. So I started going through and marking that in before I ever finished my sketching. And we're just going to bring this down, round out that eye. We're just kind of like roughing stuff in, just trying to figure out placements. Right? Now, since we know that this little curve here is going to be the bottom center portion of the mustache, that means that this mouth is going to be coming down in this direction. Right? We've got our ear back here because ears always sit behind the eye. And we'll just draw a little polygon here, kind of like a weird shaped 5-sided pentagon. There we go. Yeah, that's that's good. That'll mark it out. Actually, let's make that a little smaller. I want to kind of downplay the ears on this guy. Yeah, that's going to be a little bit better. Don't want to draw a Dumbo dragon. Big ears for everyone. Yay. Cool. All right, so we've got the side of the mouth coming down. Yep, good on that. So we can see, if we were to go through and kind of mark this out in perspective, this would be the chin area. And then this would be coming down. Yeah, there we go. This would be coming up and over. This would be area for the beard. Let's shrink the whole thing down just a hair. And we'll shrink this beard area a bit. This we can curve around. This underbelly would kind of fade back in that direction. Now, a lot of what I'm doing and a lot of these scribbles probably don't really make any sense right now. And that's okay, because right now we're just figuring out angles and marking stuff down. We should be able to see a tiny bit of the top of the head at this angle in perspective. Probably not too much of it, but we should be able to see a bit of it. Just a touch. Just enough to let us know that, the top of this dragon head is kind of moving backwards in space. Yeah, there we go. And I always like to give it like a little bit of a flare for the back of the head. We're not really going to see too much of that eye, but we know it's going to be there. Now, one thing I did just pick up on is I don't have the correct angle on a couple of things. Um, this is exactly why I try to spend a couple hours or a couple minutes every day just sketching and drawing. Because and the way that I figured that out is by looking at my center line here, right? This center line here is going to determine where the back portion of that head is. I made a lizard that thinks it's a dragon. That's awesome. Hey, they're both amphibians, if I'm correct. So I think lizards are amphibians. Maybe they're reptiles. I'm not sure. I've never been one to really know too much about that kind of stuff. But I just always the primary goal whenever I'm sketching out something like this, and it's something that can make or break any design that you might be drawing. Maybe it's a snake, maybe it's a rose, whatever. If you don't have things positioned correctly in your proper alignment for the right perspective, it's going to look really awkward and really off, and nothing is ever going to look right. And there's always going to be something that's nagging you, like, why doesn't this look right? So I'm constantly trying to make sure my angles and my proportions are correct, trying to follow center lines. Center lines to me are like an absolute godsend, just because if things aren't centered correctly, that's when you end up with like, if you have an eye here and, this is your center line, you don't want the mouth to be over here because then you're going to end up with like a Picasso dragon. And I mean, it might be cool, but, you know, things are definitely going to look a bit more off. Um, and if I'm going for a very specific kind of look or a specific angle for a tattoo, then that's part of the reason why I'm going to want to make sure that everything is in line. And that's something that the more and more you do it, the better you will be at it. So I'm constantly just trying to improve. Now, does that mean I always get it right? Absolutely not. But I know the more that I do it, the better I will be at it. And until you've drawn, a few hundred dragons that look pretty darn good, well, who's to say what you're capable of doing? By that point in time, you'll probably have mastered a whole bunch of muscle memory, and that muscle memory will allow you to sit down and be like, "Oh yeah, I can draw a dragon," and just bang it out real quick, kind of like Bill Canales, right? If you've ever watched that guy draw a dragon, I think it takes him 90 seconds to draw a dragon head. He doesn't even really have to plot it out anymore. He just sits down and it's like, done. And it's absolutely incredible to see. So this we're going to be using as the mouth. I'm still trying to figure out why the back of this head doesn't look right. So if I have that, we should only see like a little peak at the top. I always give my dragons like a tiny little crest at the top of their head, because if we want that to move back, I don't know. I just think it makes it look more visually interesting. Mm, there we go. Oh, and I think someone just joined us. Yeah,
Hey, what's up, man?
not too much, man. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. I am just chiming in here from the shop, doing some paperwork, and I decided to
Oh,
jump on
paperwork,
in.
man. I love doing paperwork. Don't
Oh,
you?
it's amazing. It's the best. I love it. It's the best thing in the
It's
world.
my
I can't.
favorite pastime.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And the paper cuts that come along with it. Oh my God, that's the best. Let me tell you.
Paper
What you
cuts
working
are
on?
just your reward for doing a good job,
That's right. That's right. That's the surprise. That's the surprise you
right?
get. Mm-mm-mm.
I'm just doodling another dragon head. I might turn this one into a painting if I like it. If you look at all the different groups I create in Procreate, each one of these groups is a different dragon head. Just because I like to do a couple of different drafts and figure out angles and draw them in different ways. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, I try not to spend too much time on any given one, but sometimes things get a little tricky to figure out if you're trying to draw something at a new perspective or a new angle. Um, so it just got to take some time and draw some more and try to figure out whether or not things are lining up correctly with how you want them to look.
Mm-hmm.
And
Cool.
this will give us a good start.
Yeah, that's cool,
Mark
man.
where that rear
You
tooth.
using a reference for it or anything?
Nope, nope. Just trying to. There's a pretty cool trick that I picked up. If anyone here, and some people here might know what I'm talking about. It's a website called Enter the Fishbowl, and it's who is it? It's Anthony or James Tex, Anthony Tex, and Shane Ford, and they actually do like seminars. Let me pull it up real quick. Enter the fishbowl. Where is the website? At Elsewhere Tattoo. Um, and I'll go through and share this real quick. Let's do this. Boom. This is Let's do. I think this will work. Boom. Oh, yay. So I don't know if you guys can see this or, well, nope. There we go. Sorry for the, there we go. So this is Elsewhere Tattoo. You'll see fishbowl episodes right down here. And they've got some really, really good ones. James whole summer on dragons, and they're reasonably priced. It's not like they're super crazy expensive or anything, but there's some absolutely golden information located on these guys.
Oh
Once
wow.
again, this is Shane Ford's website, and they are absolutely awesome episodes. Highly, highly recommend it. But there's an
Nice.
exercise that James talks about in his dragon, video that he essentially sits down and he draws like an S curve, right? And then he turns that S curve into, basically like a grid. And then he'll draw dragons in any type of direction you can imagine. So he'll
Oh
take
wow.
this and it gives him the basis of his dragon heads. So he'll start out, and he usually starts out with squares for his dragon heads, right? And when he was laying this out as like a quick little exercise on that video, it blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just, this is one of the ways that he goes through and he'll, practice drawing dragon heads. That's why you can, if you watch him, he'll draw it in any direction in any kind of a way you can imagine. So he'll start out with something like this, right? And then he'll say, okay, so this will be one dragon head. Maybe we'll have it with like a top down perspective. Here, this will be our mouth. We'll have some eyebrows here, right? Maybe we'll give this guy an open mouth. A little bit of a beard, a little bit of a mustache. Here's some beard hair down here. And
Oh, it's
here's an
already starting to
ear.
come together.
So he'll go through and he'll say, okay, here's one from this angle, and then he'll do that for every single square. This one will be at a
Hmm.
slightly different angle, right? So he'll have eye coming down, coming across, and then he'll do it from this one. So here it's basically
Oh
creating
wow. Okay.
the structure for different dragon heads to practice drawing them at different
That's
angles,
interesting. Oh wow, that's a cool way to
right?
do that.
And you can do this with almost anything you can break down into a basic shape,
Right.
which
Hmm.
is fascinating. It's
Yeah,
fascinating to
absolutely.
see how, just the different ways people can run this kind of an exercise. Um, you can practice volume shading and volume sketching. You can practice any number of things, but you can tell if you look at, just the number of different ways that you can draw them from any kind of an angle. And especially when you start to get to really weird extreme angles, like back here. And then you'll have another one maybe here where you only see part of the face. And then back here, you've got another one. Maybe this would be the back of the head, so
Oh yeah.
you can really start to see, how it can get really, really challenging really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Because you've got this one's kind of facing, away at a different perspective. And now you've got some that are facing down and now out and now back. So it really, really pushes you to draw, the same basic concept and structure, but from different angles, different perspectives. And it can get really challenging after a while.
Yeah, I
Uh,
can imagine.
Especially if you start to do them in more of a three-dimensional way, um, and you really start to challenge yourself with angles and perspectives. Once again, starting out with an S curve, right? Using this as like part of our center line, and then having another part come down here, right? Now breaking this down into cubes again. And now this guy would be in a cube, right? Now this would be in a cube. Oh, okay, boom. Now this would be in a cube. So each one of these are different angles, right? And if we go through and we put our eyes, right, right at right underneath where it bends, we can start to see the angle of the head changing, as we come around, because it's now looking downward more and more and more. We're
Hmm.
starting to see more of the top plane of the head. So it can get super challenging super quickly. But it pushes us, and that's
Yeah,
kind of the
absolutely.
trick to getting better every day, is finding ways to push ourselves and to be better than we were before, you know?
Hmm.
And not just in drawing, and not just in painting, and not just in tattooing, but in life.
That's
It's kind
real.
of like a lifelong lesson. Because if we're not improving, if we're not constantly trying to be better than we were yesterday, if we're not constantly trying to, improve who we are, where we are, and what we're about, then we're falling behind a lot of other people,
That's right.
you know?
That's right.
So
So,
just to give you an idea, if this is the snout of the dragon,
what's the name of that website again that you were saying?
it's called elsewheretattoo.com. Yeah, and I'll post it up in the chats. But they talk
Cool.
about a lot of really interesting concepts like totem polling, um, a lesser known concept.
Totem polling.
Hmm.
Is that what this is?
So, well, that's kind of the term that they use, and that's when you have like, and you'll see this occasionally with certain or different different artists that maybe they don't think in advance as far as composition goes. But say
Hmm.
you've got, one, say you've got like a hand here, a head here, right, and then you've
Could
got
you
something
possibly
else
use
over
black?
here. Yeah.
It's kind of hard. It's a little hard to see.
So say you've got like a hand, maybe, coming over with like a finger. Um,
That's good.
Say one, two, three, four, right hand, head, right? And then maybe you've got another hand up here. Two, three, and then four with a thumb down here, right? Not that any of this is to proportion, but it's where you end up stacking too many pieces on top of each other
Hmm.
in a linear fashion, because it creates this look of like, here's a subject, um, like here's one part, here's one part, and here's one part. And that's kind of the way totem poles are built. They're built with like specific things stacked one on top of another. And it just creates too much of a static or non dynamic kind of composition. But he discusses that all, I believe that's in the first video, where they basically challenge each other to go through and draw a bodysuit or like a back piece or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about this concept of, getting away from this totem pole effect. Um, it's really fascinating. Highly
Yeah.
recommend watching all of the videos, because when you get into that kind of a thing where you're just stacking things one on top of another, that's when like you start to lose a dynamic composition. It's when you really start to lose and get away from, creating a sense of movement and moving your eye throughout a whole piece.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And it's
you know,
even visual. I mean, it's even visually not appealing.
right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Whereas if you were to stagger things in a diagonal fashion, it's going to force your eye to go from here to here and then up to here. And then if you know what you're doing, you can bring it all the way back down to that first one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a typical dynamic composition. And you can see this a lot in Renaissance art. You can see different angles that are diagonal that will direct your eye around a whole piece. Look at
I know that's right.
spears in any kind of Renaissance art. Um, Look at the painting of the Archangel Michael by Raphael. Right,
Mm-hmm.
perfect example. You have one arm that's down. You have a spear that's coming down from above, creating a very blatant diagonal line.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in that is forcing your eye to move around, and that's why it creates such a dynamic composition, because it's visually interesting and it creates this sense of movement, right?
And then it
And
helps
that
the story.
exactly. I mean, look at
Mm-hmm.
some of the great tattooers of today, right? Look at Andy Chambers, for example. That Jeep sleeve that he did, right? All diagonal angles, because it creates a visual sense of movement and it's visually appealing to the human eye. And that is ideally what we really want to go through and create, is something visually appealing. Yes, we want to go through and provide to the client what it is they're asking for. We do, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can't make it visually appealing, then it doesn't matter if we give the client exactly what they want. No one's going to want to look at it and they're not going to be happy,
Right. That's right.
you know? So we
That's right.
have to make it visually appealing. And that includes using the right colors, the right tones, having the right contrast. It's all about visual appeal. Um, just like correct placement is key, because if a tattoo isn't placed correctly, it's not going to be visually appealing. It's not going to complement the underlying muscle structure. And thus, everyone that sees it, no matter how well executed it may be, it's not really going to look like it belongs there,
Mm-hmm.
So these are all things that I'm constantly going through in the back of my mind at all times. Just thinking to myself, okay, if I wanted to do or draw this, how would I draw this and make it the most visually appealing possible? Right. And it's tough. It's tough to really go
Right.
through and go through all these steps and not exclude any of the steps and break everything down to say, okay, well, even though I really like this composition, it's not going to work for the area where the client wants to get tattooed. So
Mm-hmm.
now maybe I'll set that aside and I'll use that for something else. So let me go through and I'll draw another version specifically dedicated to this area, and we'll see how that one develops. It
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of time. It does. Um, but the more that you do that and the more that you get used to working in that way with that mindset, the easier it becomes. Just like if you're looking at color, You could spit out any color you can imagine, and I could tell you a visually interesting color to put next to it. Because it's
Right.
been drilled into my head over the past 20 years.
What if that other color? What if the that color that you are suggesting that will go well with that color does not look good on the person's skin tone,
Well, that all
or does it
depends on
even
the
show up?
underlying skin tone, right?
Hmm.
Because now, I was talking in basic color theory, right? Visual
Gotcha.
color theory. If we're talking tattoo color theory, that's going to require a completely different mindset, right?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Because you have to factor in underlying skin tone to the colors that you were using. You have to. Anyone out there that says, oh, that doesn't matter, let's look at your work. And I want you to show me
Right.
examples of that not mattering, right? Because if you don't factor that in, it's never going to look right. So you have to plan that out. Certain people have a bit more of a warm tone. Certain people have a bit more of like an ochre. I've met people out there from different places that have more of a cool skin tone,
Hmm.
right? They've got a very like it's kind of weird when I say that, but it's almost like a cool, like pale kind of flesh tone. Um, I mean, granted, those are the rarest people that I've ever found. In fact, I've only ever met one of them. My friend Meredith out in Kansas City. Her skin is literally like a bluish tint, darker than paper. Um, but a lot of people that I've met have a bit more of a warm skin tone or a bit more of
Hmm.
a almost like an ochreish tone. So when factoring that in, you need to account for that. That's like painting on a canvas that's already tinted with like an ochre or a sienna brown or anything like that. It's gonna change the way that the color looks because the tattoo pigments we use are translucent. That's just the way it is. As that skin heals and as skin grows over it and as it ages, that natural skin tone is not just going to be a base layer, it's also going to be over top of it,
That's right.
right?
Hmm.
Because that's the way our skin works. You can get a fresh tattoo, it'll look fine when it's fresh. 5, 7, 10, 15, 20 years later, as you develop multiple layers of skin over top of it, you're seeing through those layers and you're seeing the tattoo underneath. And that tattoo hasn't gone anywhere. It's just that you've grown so many layers of skin over top of it that it's now distorting your visual view. It's distorting the way that that light reflects off of that skin tone,
Hmm.
you know? So it's tricky, man. It's really tricky. Um
Because
one
I
way
was
to
even
get
thinking of it, perhaps like it would, even if you can't see it, maybe it does. Like if it's somebody wants some yellow and like I'll put some purple in, or somebody wants some purple and like I'll put some yellow in it. Uh, you know, you never know. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it might, because it just color just has that effect on the human eye.
I mean
You put a
it
little
might.
purple in the black.
And that's what I was actually going to say for people that have more of an ochre tone to their skin, mix in a little bit of purple with your black and gray. You know, in theory, that will actually help contrast their natural skin tone. And I do know
Hmm.
that there are a few artists that are out there that work in that manner. Whether they do black and gray or color or whatever, they'll actually use a little bit of a contrasting skin tone or a contrasting color to that person's skin tone in order to go through and really have the most dynamic contrast. People that have a bit more of, say, a reddish hue or a warmer reddish hue to their skin. Well, go through, find your contrasting color to red. Use that, mix that in. Even if it's only a drop, it can make a difference, you know? I met a guy at a convention once that used to find the person's skin tone and then match that contrasting color. And he would put one drop of color into every single one of his gray wash caps. And it was fascinating to watch this guy work. And when you saw the tattoo when it was finished, it looked completely black and gray, right? All gray wash. It looked like that, but it had a much deeper level of contrast. So that is something that has to be factored in. Now, what I'm sketching out is basically for a painting, but if I was to plan it out for a tattoo, that's something that I would want to factor in. Uh, so I'm not sure where to go from here. Maybe I'll start doing some darker blue sketchy sketch. Try to refine this a little bit. Always try to keep things loose. Always. Broad to specific, as my friend Ricardo would say. Broad to specific. And utilize those darn triangles everywhere. I'm just kind of scribbling in here now, just getting a feel for certain angles and shapes. Right, brow ridge. This would come over, create. Yep. Then this would come down. And we would have this coming over top, kind of setting that eye back. Hopefully we get Tattoos by Spirit back on here. I don't know if he had to leave for a reason or not, but if he doesn't jump back in, that's fine. I can always, give him a shout out later. Um, then we'll just draw some circles for some mustache. Try to figure out the angle and the direction that we want that to go in. Same thing with the beard. And then back here we would have the rest of the beard along the jawline. We'll round that off a little bit. Bring that down. The rest of this part you wouldn't really see. Trying to stick to our preset angles the best we can. Just trying to map everything out and make sure it's in line. Good. This would actually be higher and back a bit further. And I am leaving a bit of room for the horns, which I'm going to have kind of tucked back here behind the ear. Now, I always like to take the cheekbones and make the cheekbones a little bit more prominent. I don't know why, but I've always kind of just done that. I don't know. I just think it gives them a little bit more of an aggressive kind of look. So if this is moving backwards, then maybe it won't be that extreme. It'll probably just be a tiny little accent. Yeah, there we go. Better. And then we'll just have this kind of like little tooth in the rest of the mouth coming out down here. Good. Still don't think that this top part of the head is at the right angle, but that's better. This would be down here. Yeah. Something for me to work on today. Just kind of doodling around, just trying different things out, seeing what works, what doesn't work. I'll probably change the angle of a few things later on and just keep working on this until it's about where I want it to be, because I'm starting to think that the way that everything is situated, something's off somewhere, but something to give me something to work on a little bit later. So, and that'll kind of wrap it up for today, guys. As always, thank you for tuning in today. If you're still watching, make sure to check us out and make sure to hit that like and subscribe button today if you got something out of today's show. That way you can stay up to date with all of the upcoming shows. I hope everyone is doing well, and I hope everyone keeps their hands busy, keep them sketching, keep that positive mental attitude. And I will catch everyone next week for episode 157 here live on the Reinventing the Tattoo Network. This has been Drawing for Tattooers, and thank you for watching today. My name is Jason Leeser, and I will catch everyone next week. Dweller's Art, thank you very much. Always appreciated, and take care, everyone.